Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a couple of things. Number one, how does Elon Musk plan to actually monetize Twitter in a meaningful way? And number two, what is his secret theory for trying to buy Twitter? Now, the secret theory has been floated around Twitter for a while now. Sean from Invest to Live, that's one of my favorite YouTubers, one of my favorite friends in the YouTube community and Twitter community. I'll link his channel in the description. He's floated this theory to me. Actually, the first time the news broke, I went on his channel and he kind of presented the theory to me for 15 minutes and I was like, this is why Sean is a really smart guy. He makes a lot of sense. So before we get into the theory, I want to first talk about how Elon Musk plans to monetize Twitter. Now, Elon Musk came out today and he basically said, look, people are going to start having to pay to use Twitter in a more meaningful way. In fact, he also said that he thinks he can actually IPO Twitter in the next 3 years. And you might be thinking that's kind of crazy. There's no way Elon Musk could do that. But you don't really want to doubt Elon Musk. I was just looking at the headline right here. Elon Musk says he could take Twitter public in the next 3 years. Now, why does he think he can take Twitter public in the next 3 years? Well, if you monetize the service, if you make it stronger, if you make it better, if you make it more productive, and at the end of the day, if you make it more profitable, you make it more valuable. So Twitter right now has an enterprise value of about $44 billion. If he were to take it public again, even at, 2 times its value at $80 billion or $100 billion, it's very possible, especially in the context of virality. I mean, these social networks, when they hit exponential scale, they start being worth hundreds of billions of dollars. We've seen that with YouTube. We've seen that with Instagram and Facebook. And Twitter has been the one that just couldn't catch up there because they just don't have the users. At the end of the day, 200 million daily active users is cool. By the way, they were lying on their numbers for 2 years. They reported that in earnings. People forgot about that. They were literally lying. They said, we overstated our numbers by 2 million every year. It's like, well, okay, so it's really hard for them to grow users, particularly because of how the product is ultimately enacted. So the question becomes, can Elon Musk figure out a way to monetize it in order to make it public again in the next 3 years in a more meaningful way, where there would actually be shareholder demand for these shares? And one of the things he outlined, and it's an idea I wanted to explore, is that he thinks he can charge people to actually buy the product or to use the product. So for example, he recently said, really just this morning, that governments and businesses may have to pay to use Twitter in order to access audiences. Now, currently, the way this works is advertisements, right? You pay Twitter, pay Twitter to like push your tweets in front of more people. Twitter takes some money, and as a result, you get more exposure. If governments and businesses had a formal relationship with a social media platform in terms of like, you cannot be a governmental official on Twitter unless you are paying this fee, however you would sort of structure that, then you only have the option to buy ads. I mean, and then you also get to just be on Twitter for free. Now, the nature of Twitter is it's this global public town square where anyone can set up an account, anyone can talk. And to be honest, it's not really from some moral idea. Like the whole idea of social media platforms and gaining users is that you let people sign up for free, they start posting, boom, you start getting attention, and you like hit exponential scale. If he starts charging a paywall to certain organizations that must use Twitter in order to access an audience, there is a potential business relationship there. And it's the same thing to me as advertising, because advertising is just to get bigger reach, but to get you onto the platform if you're charging a service, and there's a trade-off and there's like a benefit to you being able to pay for that service. Maybe there's like a verification check that you're a government official or whatever that may be. Then your content has more leverage on the platform, and then your content actually is able to probably hit more people. The question becomes, what does this mean for something like political journalists? So like if you're a journalist at the Washington Post and I don't know, you're technically part of a business for some example, or Elon's like, hey, if you're a journalist, the only way you get an audience is if you use Twitter. Otherwise, where are you going to share your articles? It's got to be on my platform. You've got to pay something to use the service. It does create a weird incentive at that point, because if Twitter's bottom line is run by journalists and, journalists want to say journalisty things, meaning they want to talk bad about Twitter, they want to talk bad about other companies, or they just want to get their thoughts out there and their ideas out there, and those aren't in line with what Elon wants. Yes, he's all for free speech, but it's very important to think about, like, how do these things kind of interact with each other? Because if you've got a bunch of people saying stuff that's not in the interest of what you want to be on the platform, even though you have free speech, but now you're making money from those people, and like you don't want them to really say that stuff, but also they kind of might not want to say bad stuff about you, even though they need to say bad stuff about you because they might be afraid of getting kicked off the platform. It's a very weird inverse incentive relationship that exists that I don't think exists if you just get on the platform. Now, so like it exists right now because management is always like weird in terms of how they ban people. But if you get rid of management and you have a new culture and a new philosophical premise to how we understand Twitter, and we don't get rid of people, we don't censor people, we just allow them to post content, then there is a more open world in which people are just more able to freely express themselves on Twitter. The problem is that doesn't make money because we've seen that with ads. So at some point, you've got to charge people some money to do something on Twitter. The question is, how do you charge people and where do you charge people? The other reason why this monetization thing is a little bit weird is because Elon Musk buying Twitter sets up the precedent going into the theory that Sean was talking about that I think is incredibly important for them building a data machine around artificial intelligence and human thought at scale. So what is Twitter? Twitter is this machine where everyone posts, I think, 6,000 tweets per second. And you have these machine learning algorithms that are trying to interpret all this text that is coming in. So you have people talking about basketball, people talking about stocks, people talking about depression, people talking about, their gym workout, people talking about a trillion different things at the same exact time. And it's all going to this database, and their algorithms on Twitter are supposed to take all that information, synthesize it, and then figure out a way to meaningfully present it to the end user so they have an enjoyable experience engaging with the content that they're seeing. That is the point of Twitter. Now, with Tesla, and you think of something like the Tesla robot, the whole idea of the Tesla robot, and Elon has said this, that it will be bigger than the car business one day, meaning he thinks that the AGI, Advanced General or Artificial General Intelligence, will be so fundamentally strong that these robots will also ultimately be like humans, although they'll be able to do things that, we want robots to do and not humans to do. So if we want, someone to go on a skyscraper to protect something that's about to fall off or something, instead of risking a human life, if a robot could do it because it has human level functionality and human level thought, meaning it knows how to climb a wall, it knows how to grip onto something because you need your your nervous system to be able to make those adaptations and connections, then that could be exponentially important, right? That could be a really, really big deal. The question is, how do you train that robot to actually know about these things? Because the entire point around robots and artificial intelligence and just data in general is data gets stronger the more you feed data into a machine in order for that machine to learn more off of data. So the only way algorithms get better is if they have more data to interpret more edge cases. The Tesla car makes sense because it has billions of miles of data feeding the actual AI to be able to help the Tesla car know when to stop, when to go, when to realize there's a pedestrian, when to realize this car is not making the right turn, so you should stop in order to not have a crash. All of these things are rooted in artificial intelligence that Tesla has specifically because of its competitive advantage in data. And if there was a world in which you could take the Twitter thoughts that are coming in real time, 6,000 of them every second, and you're then able to attach your artificial intelligence algorithms to try to make sense of all the stuff that is coming down, to try to understand, why is this happening, right? Where are these words coming from, or how does this interpret? Or if people are getting into a fight on Twitter, how the AI is recognizing, why is this person getting into a fight? Oh, this person was sarcastic. Well, what is sarcasm? Well, they have this letter, or they have this letter, or there was this tone to the way they were talking the words. There's an exclamation point where there's not supposed to be an exclamation point, letting you know that they're trying to be sarcastic. All of these data points in one algorithm, in one machine, being distributed through one system, feeding into an artificial intelligent being, could create a brain for this Tesla robot. Which sounds kind of crazy because I don't know if we want it to have a brain. I don't know. I mean, maybe we want it to have a brain. Maybe we don't want it to have a brain. But if it has a brain, it's going to be smarter. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be more productive. And it might kill us all one day. I guess that's a risk. But nonetheless, that could be the secret reason for buying Twitter. Now, do I think that's the real reason? Probably not. I think free speech is there. I think there is a moral reason. I think the economics of this, you don't sell that much of your stock just to buy some company that you don't care about, right? He really does care about free speech and trying to inflict it on the platform. However, Elon is a clever dude. He doesn't do things for no reason. When he does stuff, he does stuff. And if he thinks in the back of his head there's real-time data coming from Twitter that could be interpreted into a machine that could then learn how to talk, see, communicate, love to something, it has all these emotions from all these tweets, and it's descripting all these things, and it's putting into one thing, then maybe there is a world in which Tesla actually uses Twitter in a meaningful way, or benefits from Twitter in a meaningful way, even though they're not buying Twitter, and even though that wasn't the original intention for Elon Musk buying Twitter. What do you think of my theory? Is my theory crazy, or does it have some legs to it? Let me know. And also let me know, how do you think Elon is going to monetize Twitter? Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.